Hey there, I'm Christine Collins. Welcome to Focus and Flow. Today we are going to have a lovely chat about working in flow and mindset for marketing. Before we dive in, I would like to acknowledge the custodians of the lands and waterways on which I live and work, which is the Hohokam, Pima, and Maricopa tribes. And I would like to pay my respects to the wisdom, creativity, and integrity of elders past, present, and emerging. Just to give you that quickie intro, I'm Christine Collins. I'm a certified master NLP hypnotherapist with my background being in psychology and marketing, and I'm also an EFT practitioner. I help magical, intuitive entrepreneurs just like you with your marketing, your mindset, niching, and creative content. And I often talk about the strategic side of marketing and niching, but for today, we are going to focus more heavily on the mindset, working in flow, and the hypnotic, magical side of things. So how do we know when we're not in flow or when we need maybe just a little bit of help? Well, our marketing tasks will start to feel hard. Content feels overwhelming. It can feel boring. I'm sure we can all relate to that a little bit at times where we feel like we're just kind of going through the motions. And there's not much cohesiveness between the things that we're setting out to do and the goals that we're actually trying to achieve. It's like we don't have a big picture vision that's guiding us and inspiring us and kind of moving us forward to inform our decisions about what we're focused on and what we should be doing. And as a result of that, our copy doesn't flow with ease. Our content feels like we're just squeezing water from a stone. We're working really hard and not getting very far. You might feel like you're just not able to write things, or they don't feel creative, they don't feel inspired, they just don't feel like they're good. You feel like you're doing things just to get them done, but you don't have that thrill or that sense of excitement and pride in the content that you're producing. Your ideas, they're just not flowing. Those are some key signs that you're just not in flow, and that looking at some of these things we're going to talk about today will be very, very helpful for you. So what do we do? Well, we're going to talk today about working in flow. And the thing about flow is that sometimes we slip into it by accident, but we can get ourselves into flow in a very deliberate, purposeful way. So when we are in flow, the plan is clear, the work that we're doing, it flows with ease, the content is aligned with our strategy, it's aligned with our goals. So those things are matching up and clicking into place. We know where we're going and we know what we need to do to get there. And the copy kind of writes itself. The ideas are just coming in with ease. We're not struggling, we're not straining, things are flowing, and we're also having fun as we go. So our strategy today is to understand how we can more easily tap into flow to maximize our own wiring and our own neuroscience so that we can craft that cutting edge copy and that exciting content, and we can feel inspired and thrilled and happy with the work, and also support our mindset along with all of those lovely practical strategies that we have. So to give you a little bit of background on flow, like what is flow? What is she talking about? How does it work? How do we even know that it exists? There's actually a neuroscience basis for flow. So from functional MRIs, they are able to see that the frontal lobe areas that are related to things like self-reflective thinking or self-consciousness, which we all have at times, there's actually a reduction in activity in those frontal lobe areas that tend to be connected with things like anxiety and self-consciousness, that self-doubt, that kind of hesitation or second guessing that we sometimes do. And when we are in flow, our stress levels are lower. We're most likely in an alpha brainwave, a calm state. Time can seem to fly by. We get a lot more done. There's a sense of clarity, a sense of control, kind of like you're mastering the time instead of it running you. And you feel like you have a little bit more optimism and hope. So that dopaminergic reward system that we're all familiar with when we feel a surge of good feelings, it gets activated. And we're in a more positive mood. We have a more positive mindset and a more hopeful outlook. We feel like the things that we're doing are actually going to pay off instead of feeling useless or pointless or worthless, as we sometimes do when we're kind of just randomly posting copy or posting our content and offers where we're feeling like, this doesn't seem like it's really going to go anywhere. We have a sense of optimism that the work we're doing is meaningful, which is very important. We feel energized and motivated, and there can even be a reduced physical discomfort. So if you've ever been in a state of flow where you're working on something, say you're painting or something creative, it's like you may not even notice that your leg kind of hurts because you're sitting on it funny. It's like you're just so caught up in that flow and in that work that you're doing that the little things around you bother you less. Like you don't hear background noises, you don't notice things. They don't annoy you as much because you are so excited and energized by the work that you are doing. So having really a basic understanding of how these different brainwaves work can be very helpful as we're talking in this conversation about working in flow. So when you are fully asleep, the brainwave that you're in, it's called the delta wave. It's the most deeply relaxed brainwave state. And one interesting thing, like a fun fact, is that babies during the first year are mostly in the delta state where they sleep a lot. They're in that very deeply relaxed state. And then children are in more of a theta state all the way up to the age of 7, which is really interesting because theta is a hypnotic state. It is a trance state. And it makes sense when you really think about that because they're learning so much. And not only are they learning, they need to believe what they're being told for safety and survival purposes, which most of our brain chemistry is arranged for our survival purposes. Because if the parents or adult caretakers are telling them it's not safe to do this, hold hands while crossing the street, don't touch that hot stove, they have to believe that what they're being told is accurate and correct. And theta is also a deeply relaxed kind of twilight state where you're intensely creative. There's a lot of daydreaming and intuition and fantasizing and memory formation, which helps to explain why children are so creative and imaginative. And it's much easier for them to access that. But we, as adults, can still access this beautiful state. And that is one of the many benefits of a tool like hypnosis that can help you to get into that. And then there's the alpha state, which is halfway between deeply relaxed and fully alert. It's a meditative, calm state where you're open to new ideas, open to new possibilities. There's reduction in anxiety, like we talked about, that can show up on these functional MRIs in terms of being in flow. And there's also some healing benefits to some of these deeper brain waves, including regeneration of tissue, restoration of circadian rhythm, enhanced peripheral blood flow, as well as openness to new ideas and creativity and intuition. So alpha is a state of meditative calm, kind of in between fully awake and fully asleep, as you can see in the chart. So your deepest state is delta, and then theta, and then alpha, and your more alert and focused states are going to be beta and gamma. So when we're talking about flow, we're mostly looking at that alpha state that's kind of in the middle. And now that we've laid that foundation to understanding what this looks like neuroscientifically, now we can get into more of the, how do we actually get into flow? So I hear you saying, that sounds great. Thanks for letting me know about this. But how do I use this in my marketing? And how do I actually get there? And this notion of a flow state, it may just sound like a lovely fairy tale, but I assure you that it is not. It is very possible for you to tap into that deliberately and intentionally so that you can have that sense of intrinsic motivation and that hyper focus on the tasks, as well as the excitement and the creativity that goes with it. So let's just identify some activities that bump us into flow. Sometimes this happens accidentally where we are doing something like having a shower, taking a walk, maybe spending time in nature. And I have a lot of people regularly tell me that they get some of their best ideas in the shower and they find it really annoying because it's hard to write it down. Or perhaps it happens just as they're falling asleep. People find that when they are relaxed, that is when the ideas start to flow. And when I hear these things, I kind of just smile because it's no surprise to me at all. For me, it's when I'm swimming or doing yoga or sometimes having a massage or something like that. But anytime you're able to get into that space where your skeptical guard dog mind is kind of taking a rest, taking a little bit of a back seat. You're not so hypercritical or hyper worried about things. You're just relaxed. Maybe taking a walk in nature, maybe walking your dog or something like that. There's this part of your mind that kind of switches off and allows the more creative side of you to step forward. So those activities can bump us into a flow state. And hypnosis and meditation are also excellent pathways to getting there, as well as things like yoga. Yoga Nidra is a fabulous tool as well. So we have all of these tools at our disposal that can help us to get into a flow state on purpose. And whatever it is for you. You know, it may be a little bit different for everyone, but it's wonderful when we have a tool that's really portable and easy to use, like hypnosis or EFT, and you can find ways to make them even more accessible so that you can access that feeling of flow on your own and on demand. So you can follow your flow, you can follow your bliss strategically, and there are a lot of different ways for you to kind of decide how to do this. So firstly, by stimulating your flow state by something pleasurable or something relaxing, even a few deep breaths or a few rounds of EFT. If you don't have enough time for a longer thing like a full hypnosis session, you can just get into flow with a few small things. And when you are in that state, there are a lot of methods for kind of deciding how to work in flow and deciding your focus. So one strategy would be to kind of list everything out that you need to accomplish and then weighting those tasks out by urgency as well as energy bandwidth. A lot of times we create our strategic plans solely around what we think has the highest level of urgency or it has to be done, and we do not take our energy bandwidth into account. And the example that I like to give is that it may take you the same amount of time, physical time, to deliver a webinar as it does to write 5 blogs or 4 blogs or whatever that looks like for you in that hour. However, the energy bandwidth may not be the same for both tasks. For some people, speaking publicly is much easier than sitting down and writing. For others, the writing is much easier and much less stressful than getting live on a camera. So you can take your energy bandwidth into account as you are creating your plan and making sure that there is a balance. So let's say it's an energy expenditure of 5 points to write those 5 blogs, but 10 points to deliver the webinar. So if you know that you're going to have a total of 10 points listed out in your day, the day that you deliver that webinar, if it's a 10-point feature, a 10-point activity, that may be the only thing that you can do in that day. And if you're doing the 5 blogs and those are only 5 points, then you might still be able to squeeze in another 5-point activity. And this is something that we don't often discuss or talk about, but it's very important when it comes to working in flow. The other piece here, and I love to use this example of, there's a meme floating around about how to procrastinate constructively by having 2 projects going simultaneously and you procrastinate on one by working on the other. Well, there's actually something to that in terms of working in flow. When we work in flow, we can be peeking at that list of priorities, and instead of rigidly saying, okay, I'm slated to work on writing my offer copy for the first hour of today between 11 and 12. However, when you look at your list, the thing that actually looks the most appealing or tempting to you in that moment is to quickly update the pricing on your website. Like, that's one of the things you also have to do. And I say, for heaven's sake, go ahead and do the pricing update. It all has to get done. And sometimes a smaller, tastier task helps you to build momentum, helps you to build a sense of accomplishment, getting you into flow. and gives you a little bit of juice, a little bit of a reward feeling to kind of keep moving forward. Then allow yourself to do that because it's all part of your task list. If it doesn't matter very much which thing happens when, allow yourself the space to have a flexible plan that has space in it in order for you to choose to follow that bliss and choose to follow that moment of flow, because we've already seen with the neuroscience, we get more done when we're happy and relaxed versus stressed. And sometimes a small win or a feeling of accomplishment provides us with the fuel to keep going forward and doing the rest. And when we're talking about creative tasks like copywriting or content creating or blog writing, those can be greatly improved and facilitated with tools like hypnosis, used ahead of the writing portion to get you into that flow or alpha state. And while I mention this a lot, using the tool of hypnosis with flow in order to write your content and create your copy, it's very helpful to break it down more for you, to show you exactly how we use that, how I use it with clients, how I use it for myself, specifically to create content or to solve problems. So let's get into some super tangible application and figure out some ways that we can actually apply some of these neuroscience things that we've talked through to how we would actually do it on a regular basis. So the thing about using flow is we're essentially tapping into that alpha brainwave state. And one of the very practical applications to use it is to solve a problem. Now, I do this all the time and I do it with my clients, and sometimes they're pretty amazed at the results. So let's just say that there's something really specific that you're trying to solve in your business. It could be an everyday problem, like something that you need to purchase. It could be something like selecting a content platform or even a business mentor, or it could be a hurdle that you're trying to overcome with something you're trying to create or something that you're trying to do in your business, but you haven't been able to solve it for yourself. We can have a balance between the logical steps that we normally have in problem solving, where we're kind of weighing out the pros and the cons and figuring out pricing and features and benefits if we're making a purchase, and we list everything out and we weigh everything out, and that's all fine. Those steps are also very important. But then you can also tap into your intuition and into flow and use the deeper, more intuitive side of yourself to help you to find a solution. And often your intuitive side and your sense of flow will have an insight that your logical mind doesn't have. This is particularly good for seemingly unsolvable problems that you can't solve with just your logic. Maybe there's a place where you're stuck and the logic just isn't working. It's just not enough. And you feel like you just don't know what to do, like you're not even sure where to start. So step one is to select a tool to get into flow. So we'll just say it's hypnosis because that is my area of expertise. And so you conjure a question, a problem to be solved, and you have this question and you say, and I have to stress that the important part here is once you have your question, you have to let go of the answer or striving for that answer and allow yourself to just truly be open, allow it to just kind of come to you. And so what I like to do is ask the question just prior to a hypnosis session. You can also do this before bed, by the way, and ask your subconscious mind to kind of work on it for you while you're sleeping or in the background. Your subconscious mind loves answering questions. So you go into your hypnosis session with a specific something in mind, and you're holding it very lightly, like you would hold a butterfly. So if you think about how you would hold a butterfly very carefully in your hands, not grasping it or clutching at it or squishing it, you have to watch its wings, you have to be very gentle and kind of cradling that question and not grasping at it or grasping for the answer, because we're not attempting to use our logical mind here to solve it. And then you go into your hypnosis session, so you turn on your audio, you can select a topic that's related to your subject or not, it's totally up to you, and then begin to step into that luxurious feeling of relaxation, just relaxing and releasing that question, releasing that answer, allowing yourself to just get down into that mode of relaxation. And more often than not, I have found, as have many of my clients, that you will emerge from that session or that relaxation time with something, whether it's a full-on solution that's very clear and direct, or it might be a little bit more subtle, where it's kind of like, here's where you get started. It's like the next step forward. Like, here's your red dot, here's where you begin, and then you start to follow the journey from there. But it gives you a starting point that you didn't have before. It might give you a little nudge to, oh, I forgot to check this one website, or I forgot to look at this one piece of information. I can't believe I didn't think of that. And when you emerge from that session, you want to write down anything that came to you, either during the hypnosis or when you're emerging from it, anything at all. It doesn't matter how small or trivial it is, what you're getting there. Particularly, you want to note down if you get like an action item, something to look at, to do, to check out, or a person that you want to talk to. And I will tell you that sometimes the very first step, it doesn't look like it's a direct answer to the question. It may be that you're asking a question about finding that perfect content platform or something, and the nudge that comes to you is like, walk the dog or call a friend. And your intuition is guiding you. You just have to trust it. It is the first step, and it's going to lead you closer, a step or two closer towards finding the answer. Other times it might be crystal clear and a very direct response to your question of exactly what to do. But you have to trust the path, that following that path is going to lead you ultimately to an answer that you're seeking. And while I can't tell you precisely how your intuition and your subconscious will guide you, I can tell you that there's nothing that your subconscious loves more than a juicy question. And when we ask questions, our subconscious immediately goes to work to try to find an answer to that question, which is why I try to never ask questions like, what could go wrong? Or how could things get any worse? And that sort of thing. It's much better that if something is crappy that's going on, try to switch over to, how could this get a little bit better? Or how could this already be on its way to being better soon? Because then that special agent, that subconscious, is already going to be hard at work answering the question that you've asked. So it's really important that you ask good questions, questions that will lead you to the answers that you are wanting. And you can use the alpha state and the flow state to present that question or problem, using that opportunity to get deeply relaxed in hypnosis or meditation, and ensuring that you hold that question and answer lightly without using your logical mind to solve it. Okay, number 2. You can also use what I call hypnotic visualization to visualize for content creation or to create marketing results or really any other kind of outcome that you are looking for. And instead of going in with a question, you're going in with a quest. So say you would like to create something that you would like to have happen for yourself in the future, and you are visualizing what it looks like for you or feels like for you. It could be the results of a launch or a marketing strategy. It could be something in your personal life. It doesn't have to be a concrete goal, like earning a certain dollar amount. It can be, but it can be as vague or specific as you would like. And whatever it is that you're creating in your mind, you want to be able to incorporate sensory details. Now, this is a moment where I feel it's really important to talk about what sensory details are in the context of visualization, because I hear sometimes people will say to me, I can't visualize. And what they mean is they're not able to get visual images because we are all constructed differently. Some of us are very visual and we can clearly see images and visual depictions of things. For other people, it may actually be a scent or a sound. So if all you can do is smell the chocolate chip cookies that you want to bake on the day that you achieve your goal to celebrate, that is perfectly valid for visualization. It does not have to be an image. I just want to reassure you that it's totally okay if you don't visualize images in the sense that you see something. For some of us, it's textures. You might be able to feel something, or to place yourself in a scenario where you can envision a cool breeze on your skin, or listening to a particular song. Maybe it's like your happy song. Any sensory detail is relevant for hypnotic visualization. And it is a very cool, effective neuroscience trick. And we can do what we call pre-creating a memory. And the reason that we do that is because our brains actually record visualization in a very similar way to how we record memory, which I just think is so fascinating and cool. And so when you are recording that visualization in your mind, your brain is categorizing it as something that's actually happened. And because it's getting recorded in that way, it's much easier to then recreate it in lived reality in the future. So you know how, like, if you do something once, it's a lot easier to do it again the second time because you have that, muscle memory, you know how to do it, like riding a bike, even earning a certain dollar amount. It's easier to make that happen a second time because, first of all, you can, you have the belief. And the reason that you can is because you've already done it. It's kind of like that Harry Potter moment. You're recording this thing in your imagination, but your brain is actually thinking that it's really happening. And so when you go to actually bring it into reality, it's much easier than to do it in real life. And that is the power of visualization. It's not woo at all. It is very much based in our neuroscience. And I will sometimes use hypnosis sessions for that purpose, that hypnotic visualization, kind of like a guided journey to create the vision of what you want to have happen, being as detailed as possible with sensory details, the sight, the sound, the scent, the touch. And perhaps most importantly, a piece that often gets overlooked with visualization is the emotional outcome. And that one, in my opinion, is the most important. I think it's even more important than the result itself. And the reason for that is because it is more important that your outcome contains you feeling really good than it is to earn a certain dollar amount or achieve a certain goal. And the reason for that is because sometimes we get the exact thing that we thought we wanted. You might say, for example, I want my husband to buy me flowers, right? But you're visualizing that as being a happy moment. So you don't want him to buy you flowers because he did something stupid and made you mad, and now he's going to get you flowers. You want it to happen because he was being thoughtful and the experience is positive and joyful. You want to add that emotional outcome of joy, satisfaction, excitement, feeling thrilled. You don't want to come into money because something bad happened. You want it to be high vibe. You want to know that whatever it is that you're trying to create, it's an enjoyable experience. And you don't want it to be a result of something negative or unpleasant happening along the way, because you might get to that moment, that outcome, and recognize, oh yeah, this is the outcome that I wanted, but I don't feel good about it at all. I'm feeling guilty because of how it went down, or some aspect of it that didn't feel good. So always focus on the high vibe outcome, especially with money, and focus on how you want to feel when the outcome arrives. And there's also some longer hypnotic visualization processes I won't get into as much in depth today, but you can do visualizations with future you. There's a part of you in the future that has already accomplished this and knows exactly how you did it and how you overcame the hurdles. And that future you knows how you got there, knows the steps that you took. And you can visualize a conversation with that future version of yourself to help you to get answers on some things. Okay, our third application for using a flow state with hypnosis is to create content. And I do this all of the time. I use it with clients, and this is how I create the majority of my content and my copy. So I'll start with having an idea in mind. So let's just say that, tomorrow is market day, or let's say that you are wanting to promote your program, your course, your one-on-one VIP service, and you can begin with just asking yourself the question, like, how do I want to go about this today? Or What might be a really captivating and effective piece of copy? What might be a really captivating approach? And go in just being as open as you possibly can. And like we already said, your subconscious is always working in the background to answer the question that's been posed or to find a way to make it happen. And it's really important that you don't shoot down any ideas when you're doing this. You want to take the approach that there are no wrong ideas, allowing yourself to even come up with some really silly ones that you know you're not going to use. Let that be okay because we're playing. And in the end, you get to veto any of it. So it doesn't matter if your brain comes up with something and you're like, oh no, that would be a strategic or a logistical nightmare. Like, I don't want to do that. That's fine. But try your best not to shoot anything down when you're in the creating, conjuring stage. Just allow yourself to kind of fantasize each option, explore it, be open and play with it, and really being as playful as you can. You can visualize, you can envision your audience receiving this, you can envision yourself writing it, and then sometimes as you're doing that, the words will start to come. They'll just start to form while you're imagining it. And I find sometimes I even have to kind of jump up. As soon as I'm finished with a hypnosis, I've got to jump up and grab a pen or my phone to write it down and try to just get it down as quickly as I can. And sometimes people ask me, is it okay to interrupt my hypnosis to write down an idea? And I would say yes. If, obviously, take it into account, the situation and the setup that you have. If you're nicely tucked into bed and you don't want to do that, that's fine. But if you think you're going to lose it, you're going to lose the grasp on that collection of words, I think it's fine to interrupt your hypnosis to get up and write it down. And sometimes I'll just kind of let multiple things flow through just to see which one is still with me at the end. But it can be interesting just to play with it, just to see what comes. I would encourage you to be bold and playful and daring as you are mentally writing that copy, playing with those content ideas, remembering this is just a fantasy. You're not married to any of these imaginings. You can turn them over in your mind and then jettison them just as quickly. Sometimes the really juicy and genius things will come when you're just kind of playing around and you're not being too serious about honing in on a specific thing. Now, I always like to stress that these techniques that we're talking about are merely suggestions, and they are never meant to be like a rigid technique that you have boxed yourself in with. So for you, as you're creating your plan to work in flow, you can make that an intentional state, a choice, something that has become a regular part of your process with your marketing, just like everything else that you do. You could slate 10 to 15 minutes at the start of your content and marketing work to get into flow on purpose, whether that's with a walk or a swim, some hypnosis, a massage, some yoga, something else. This is where I think it really gets fun, because you can truly say that your yoga class or your walk or your swim or your meditation and hypnosis time is truly a business practice, a business need, and an incredibly important part of your marketing work and its efficacy. In fact, your marketing work will be far less good without working in flow. And your already precious time will be far less productive and effective if you are not working in flow. So you could start with a simple list of activities that help you to get into flow. So it's not going to be the same for everyone. For me, it's getting into water, whether that's having a swim or just being outside in nature. That's really great for me. So think about what gets you relaxed, what gets you feeling inspired. Maybe it's listening to classical music. Maybe it is spending a little bit of time looking at some artwork. It could be using some aromatherapy. So we're tapping in here on some of the different senses because each of us is responsive to different types of tools. It might be getting some lavender incense or something going. So making a note of those things and using it to your advantage to help you to tap into that flow state. And the other piece here that's really important is to budget a little bit of time into your day or into your week for working in flow. You could just make it a percentage of the time you have. So if you only have 10 minutes, make that first 1 minute turning on your aromatherapy or your music or whatever it is for you. And then when you have more time, you have 60 minutes or 2 hours, take 10 or 15 minutes and do a flow-inducing activity, whether that's doing some quick yoga or a hypnosis. And I can tell you that the remaining minutes that you have will be so much more productive. Your focus will be more clear, and it'll be well worth that time that you invested. Particularly when you are sitting down to do something and you're like already, you're not sure what you're going to write or how to tackle a particular project. That's the perfect time for a little hypnosis or a little visualization work about the goal or the outcome that you are seeking. So I do mine in the morning. That doesn't work for everyone. That's how I start my day. And sometimes I visualize things during that time that I want to accomplish, and I keep it to 15 minutes. And that's the only reason that it works for me consistently, because I don't allow that to lapse into 30 minutes or 45 minutes or falling back asleep. But I always say, only you know you. Only you know what works and doesn't work for you, and that is why it's always a flexible plan and not a rigid recommendation. And I don't ever tell somebody like, this is how you have to do this, because we're all different. We have different lives. We have different family and home structures. We have different worlds that we're living in. And so it may not be first thing in the morning. It may be in the middle of your day. Maybe it's after you've gotten a few things done, or your day didn't start off as high vibe as you would like, and you need a reset. Hypnosis is a fantastic reset button. Some people like to do it right before bed to kind of unwind and go into their sleep time. Then they go into their dream state, deeply relaxed, and they wake up feeling refreshed. So you can adjust your working and flow plan to what works for you. And I can tell you also that when things are feeling icky with your marketing, with your content, things just aren't flowing, and you've maybe tried to rewrite it 8 times and it still sounds like crap, my strongest recommendation is to step away, put down the pen, step away from the task or the work. If you can, postpone any major decisions. Step away and do something to break your state. When you're kind of feeling like the grumpy is coming on, do something that works for you. You can do some EFT tapping. That's one of the things that I love to do, is a quick 2-minute round of EFT. Something happens, it throws me off. I'm feeling upset. Maybe there's an emotion going on, or I'm just feeling kind of cranky or something. I will sometimes say, like, I'm just going to do 3 rounds, just commit myself to doing 3 quick rounds of EFT. And after the 3rd round, I can quit if I want to, or if I want to, I can keep going, but I have to do at least 3. And after that, pretty much every single time, I feel at least a little bit better. And then I'm a little bit more capable of making further decisions. And the anxious, angry, sad, frustrated, whatever is reduced. So that can be a great state breaker to kind of get yourself out of the ick and back into the flow. And then if you have the time, you can do some more intensive things. You can do a hypnosis session, but definitely put the pen down. Don't try to keep muscling your way through. If it's not working, acknowledge it, let it go, step away, take a walk, get a cup of tea, take a break, come back in a few minutes, or come back, a few hours or the next day. Don't send the text. I can't tell you how many times I have or haven't, but I can tell you that every single time, not sending the text is usually for the best. Here is a fun little checklist. This is everything that we just talked about. It's all summarized nicely for you here. So noticing which activities bring on a flow state for you: walking, swimming, hypnosis, meditation. Noticing the early signs of the grumps, like we were just talking about, when your tasks are feeling hard or misaligned or boring. If you're just kind of going through the motions and you're not getting anywhere, step away, break the state, allow yourself to feel the feelings, and then make sure that you have mindset tools that are handy, portable, easy to access. EFT, extremely handy. All you need is your hands and your face. And with hypnosis, obviously, I have designed hypnosis audios to be very handy, and they're only around 15 minutes, so you can have like a quick little mini sesh of that. If you're already part of the Hypnopothecary, you know that there are even little 6-minute quickies in there. They're not hypnosis, but they're little meditations. You can just kind of decide, how you're going to manage that for yourself. I like to call it mindset on demand. It doesn't require you to book in an appointment. You can grab what you need, you can take what you need, and then move on with your day. Also, taking note of your best ideas when they come. I am pretty well known for talking to Siri to send myself a text when I'm doing other tasks, because if there's an idea in my head, I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to send myself a text with that information. And I'm also known to keep a little notebook near me most of the time, if not my phone. I also sometimes keep a notes app on my phone to jot down like specific wording or a flash of inspiration or a collection of words. Try to capture it in the moment. I would say don't trust your memory to remember it. I can't tell you how many times I've had something incredible, like a really great opening line or something, and I was sure that I would remember it as soon as I was finished with washing the dishes or whatever it was. But I'm over 40 now and it's not happening. So definitely write it down in the moment as much as you possibly can, and have like an idea spot where you keep little ideas, whether it's a notebook or a notes app or something, to stash your best ideas. Now, if this idea of working in flow and everything we've been talking about today has got you thinking, maybe I need a little bit more support to be able to work in flow, to be able to more effectively write my copy, write the content, and also staying motivated and inspired, then I have a great little handheld companion for all of the strategy that we talk about really often. A lot of times we're looking at like effective marketing and how to write really good copy and captivate your audience's attention, and all of that is very important. But without the powerhouse in it, without that underlying motivation and inspiration, it's not just knowing the how to do things, it's feeling invigorated to get them done. And when we are inspired and working in flow, those things are coming with ease. And the time that we're working is way more effective. We're getting more done in 30 minutes of flow than in 3 hours of yuck. And I'm sure you've probably experienced that somewhere along the way, but you can create your flow on purpose. So the handheld tool that I have for you today, it is designed exclusively for magical marketers who are interested in staying inspired and working in flow with marketing work. It's a collection of 6 highly focused hypnosis audios that were custom specified for magical marketers to focus on the topics that frequently come up in your marketing work. They're 12 minutes each, nice and easy to fit that into your day. And the 6 topics are energized, to boost your motivation. Then we have write copy, which is one of my favorites, getting inspired, getting it onto the page, also making the plan so that you know where you are going, and taking focused action. We also want to have a success mindset, which is really important to any result, and then the money in, bring it home. So I've designed these to be a little bit different. So if you're familiar with my hypnosis work, these are a little bit different. They are created to get you going, to get you energized and pumped. They are shorter by design. They're a little bit more succinct, a little bit faster paced, and they're very highly focused on getting you into flow. They're designed to set you up to do the work and crafted around your marketing process. Everything from hyping yourself up when you're feeling kind of lethargic or uninspired to doing the writing and the planning and the action taking. And they're only available as a collection. So these do not live inside the Hypnopothecary. This is a very specific product for magical marketers. So if you have any questions about anything that we've talked through today, or you want to ask me about hypnosis or talk about the Hypnopothecary, I'm more than happy to answer questions about it. I do also have that monthly membership. So if you're kind of just in the dipping your toes in stage, that is an option for you as well. That gives you access to the existing library. It has absolutely been my pleasure to speak with you today, and I really hope that you got something out of our conversation in terms of understanding how to get into flow, how to make it really work for you, and whether or not our adventure today continues into something more. I have genuinely enjoyed spending this time with you, and I wish you a totally magical and creative rest of your day.